From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello and welcome to the Wow Report on Radio Andy. It's the fourth week in August, hellaciously hot. And as you probably know, we're counting down the top 10 things that make us go wow. I'm Fenner Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer, and James St. James, our editor of the Wow Report. So let's just count down, guys. Let's just get into it. Number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10, two words, Michelle Obama. One of the highlights of the week, one of the things that made me go wow, 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 has been the Democratic National Convention in general. A brand new way of doing things, a little clunky at times, much like our own sort of, Skypey radio show. But I thought the substance was there, and I was, some nights I was home so I could watch it. Other nights I watched it online, because it's 2021, you guys. But I don't know that anybody, including Biden, and that's not a negative, performed more strongly than Michelle Obama did in her, I'm imagining, pre-taped speech. I'm imagining she read it off a prompter. But man, she has such a command of her words. You know that she's involved. They're her ideas. She didn't say Thailand or Yosemite. She knows what she's talking about. And she is such an authority. I'll shut up and you guys can talk. But she's, she's the perfect non-politician, right? Wife of the president, has never been sullied by politics, but is so smart and so wise, speaks in a language that I think communicates to everyone. I don't know how you watch that and not believe every word she's saying.
Counterpoint, I also thought Joe Biden was absolutely spectacular, and to me, she walked away with night number 2. That was unbelievable what she did. Also, the calamari guy, I think, was probably one of the highlights for me. And one of the big takeaways, the takeaway for me from the Democratic National Convention was Jack Kennedy Schlossberg, the 27-year-old grandson of JFK, who with his mother, Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg, appeared and spoke very eloquently. And Caroline Kennedy is, true American royalty. And it's always wonderful to see her. But who knew her son was the hottest guy on the planet? Twitter just exploded afterwards, saying, "Is he married? Can I date him? Is he available?" People went bananas for Jack Kennedy Schlossberg. But yes, Michelle Obama was the true star of the Democratic Party.
I love the way she clapped back to "when they go low, we go high," and put that in context and pointed out that it wasn't just being nice and smiling like an idiot. And
then when she also clapped back and said it is what it is, and that everyone had a collective
masterful shade beyond.
Yes. It is what it is. Line of the sentence.
I liked her. It was hard for me to judge because I'm close friends with Michelle Obama, as you may recall. So I don't have but I was lucky enough to see her speak when I was in London a couple of years ago and see on her book tour, and we got to meet her afterwards. We were with Rue and that whole thing, and it was just a few moments, and I was so concerned about everybody else having a good time. But she is, she's masterful at dealing with crowds and people and giving you your moment. And she, in that arena of 20,000 people where she spoke at the O2 Stadium, it was like you're in her living room. Like, she has a true gift of communicating.
Well, that actually was you're totally right. She is the politician who's not a politician, And
you want her to be a politician. You wish that she would run.
You do. But she said, "I hate politics." And then, but the whole DNC, it does feel a little canned, or a little, like you said, like a humble radio show. The sort of absence of sound, and it made me think, what are the Republicans going to do? Because so much of what they do depends on call and response, on catcalling and chanting and naming. what are they going to do? How are they going to?
We do know that there will be a lot of vitriol, and there's going to be a lot of Ted Nugents and Scott Bayos and clunkers like that. But the Republicans have learned in the past 10 years how to do the razzle dazzle, and I'm a little nervous about what they're going to pull out of their hat, because they do have a tendency to grandstand and overshadow.
And they've got the My Pillow guy, so right there we're at a disadvantage.
And Karen and the guy with the guns pointed at the crowds,
right, and probably a little Stacey Dash thrown in there.
Did you guys hear that the bat that was responsible for the first case of COVID is speaking at the Republican National Convention? Thank you. That's my Facebook meme steal of the week.
Oh, that's so good. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to number 9. James.
Number 9.
A little counter programming I've been doing from the convention. I fell into a Laverne and Shirley marathon, a bunch of them. Okay, I have been watching more Laverne and Shirley than I think I did in the 1970s. Laverne and Shirley, of course, is the Happy Days spinoff set in the 1950s, and it stars 2 plucky girls who are roommates, and they work at a brewery in Milwaukee. And it was a show that was very seminal to me when I was growing up. I was 8 or 9, I think, when it started. And me and my friend Matt Cox used to sing Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hasefef Incorporated every day on the way to school. And then we'd play Laverne and Shirley afterwards. And we would both fight over who got to be Shirley. And I think that my whole life has been centered on trying to be Shirley. When the older I get, the more Laverne I am. But it's weird because, it's set in the 1950s, and yet watching it now, it is so 70s. And the hairdos and the outfit, everything. Eventually, they just sort of, in season 4 and 5, they just forget that it's the 50s, and it's all 70s. And each season gets progressively worse. As in 1980, they joined the Army. I don't know if you remember this. The whole season, they're in the Army. And I think they were trying to get that Private Benjamin crowd. And then Shirley just leaves the show altogether, and the whole cast moves to Burbank, and it's the 1960s, and then it's just Laverne and her father, and it's very weird.
And Edna
And Carmine the Big Ragu, and Lenny and Squiggy. But it's strange, like I was saying, about how some shows hold up and some shows do not. And we've talked about this before, about how Golden Girls definitely holds up.
Yeah.
Designing Women and Murphy Brown do not, because Murphy Brown was just Dan Quayle jokes and Newt Gingrich jokes, and it doesn't hold up. I don't think kids today are watching Mary Tyler Moore. I don't think that it has made the transition.
That's a travesty. But what about Laverne and Shirley? Doesn't hold up.
No, it doesn't. Happy Days doesn't hold up either. That Girl, Leave It to Beaver, do not. I mean, so many shows that we think of as classics are not holding up. Seinfeld is under attack constantly.
What made you go back and watch it, James? Like, what prompted it?
I was just flipping around. I was bored with everything that I'd seen, and all of a sudden I saw the Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hasefef, and I just, like, from that moment on, I was watching it for about 12, 13 hours.
I think, and maybe I'm wrong, because I loved that show. You forget how big sitcoms like that used to be in the 70s. Like, they did 50% shares, and everything they said would become, like, national, like, Fonzie and Laverne and Shirley. But their theme songs, maybe the shows have aged, but their theme songs, Make All Our Dreams Come True, was so good. And all I think about is that, and we'll do it our way. And they're blue-collar girls who don't quite fit in. And they're in the factory of the beer factory, and the bottling is going around, and Laverne and Shirley are just stop, and they're not doing their bottling job, and they're just looking up into the sky. They're dreaming as the bottles go by them, and they put like a glove on a bottle, and it goes through the line.
It's one of the best all-time theme songs ever. And you think, like, because some of the other ones, some of my other favorites of that era was the Angie theme song. Remember that? And
I could sing it all for you, but I won't.
And The Greatest American Hero, Believe It or Not, I'm walking on air. There's so many
crap now because they say people don't want. Maybe with streaming, people will bring back the theme song, but on commercial television, they just want to get to it.
Streaming's made it worse. Like, if you don't get them in 7 seconds, we're done. Yeah. Well, Oh, I'm trying to find things to watch too, but you've been going like back. I've been plunging into Russian sci-fi horror.
Number 8.
The Russians are really delivering. I don't know whether they're very confident about getting.
Oh, you Putin-loving Republican!
They're taking it from us.
And just last week they released Sputnik, which I thought at first was going to be about Sputnik. It's actually set in the Cold War in like '82, and it's about 2 Russian cosmonauts who are returning to Earth. Sputnik actually, literally translated, means friend or companion, and that's the idea of Sputnik. Is that two cosmonauts? They undock from the space station, and then there's a bang, and something happens, and a day later they land, and something has happened, and one of them has brought something back with him, and obviously this evokes, Alien, and it does go there. It's got an Alien type plot to it, but in Alien, the chestbuster bursts out of John Hurt, and it's all over for him. It's almost like, well, what if it didn't burst out? What if it was a parasite that was more symbiotic? And the whole film is about this fantastic, creepy, very Russian relationship between this alien parasite inside this cosmonaut. And let me see, the cosmonaut is called Pyotr Fyodorov. James, I promise you, you will take one look and you will be in love.
Well, this is the second time you've told me that I need these Soviet boys are the ones for me. And do I need to take a visit? Do I need to go over there and
why not just watch the film? He's not a cosmonaut, he's a cosmonauty.
Cosmohottie.
Cosmohottie. He is really easy on the eyes. This is a first-time director, Igor Abraменko, and he made a short film, and now he's developed into this feature film. And he says, there was an interview, and he says, when he was a kid, he just saw parts of Alien, and he was terrified, but he decided he wanted to do something like that when he grew up. And I tell you, this film is so good. And interestingly, right at the end, they were playing a trailer for something else. It was another Russian sci-fi film, which I'll probably talk about next week. But what was interesting was that the trailer for this other film had been dubbed. And in dubbing it, they'd made it completely American. When the hero meets this. And you just suddenly thought, ugh, the American stuff is so trite and so predictable and syrupy, and these false premises and this false love and this sort of narrative that is so familiar to us and stale. And after 2 hours of Russian austere, there's something, there's something about the Russian.
I don't know if I can approve of this, Fenton. You seem to be going over to the other side here, and I'm a little worried.
James, let's do a McCarthy thing right now. Fenton Bailey, are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Absolutely not. It's just visually so austere and gore. Whole thing is shot in beautiful sort of monochromes and green.
Well, where can we see these movies that you keep finding? Are you on some Russian channel or something that we don't know about?
It just came out. It's on iTunes, Prime Video, Google Play, or Vudu. Take your pick. Streaming everywhere. It's the only thing. It's not on Netflix. But
inside your brain, Fenton, be careful.
Hey, but you know what is on Netflix? Can I do a little plug?
Yeah.
My movie Freak Show just started opened on Netflix this week.
Congratulations. Okay,
so with Bette Midler?
With Bette Midler and Laverne Cox and Ian Nelson and Abigail Breslin.
That's great.
That's called Freak Show, streaming on Netflix.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a break.
America and made in America.
Yes. None of this commie shit.
I'll also tell you this, Frida Got a Gun, our documentary of Bounce legend Big Frida, is streaming at Outfest starting Thursday, August 27th. You can watch the documentary it streams for like 72 hours, and we'll post a link on the Wow Report for how you can get tickets. All right, Blake, what's the question?
Well, we talked about the only First Lady, Michelle Obama. So I thought we'd do a little First Lady trivia. It's a two-parter, 2 different answers. Which First Lady regularly held seances in the White House? The second question, which First Lady was actually married to her 5th cousin?
Oh, okay. I know both of those. Yeah.
I think I do too.
All right, we'll have the answer for you right after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey here with James St. James, Tom Campbell, and Blake Jacobs. We're doing what we normally do, counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow.
Wow.
And Blake, you had a question for us before the break.
Yes, Tom talked about Michelle Obama's awesome speech at the DNC earlier this week. So I decided we'd ask a little First Lady trivia. Which First Lady held seances in the White House? And which First Lady was married to her 5th cousin? Two different answers.
Tom, I'm going to let you go. I would say, I know the answer, but I'm also going to say that maybe Mary Todd Lincoln did as well because she was a little nutty. But the real answer is
Nancy Reagan.
Nancy Reagan, yes. And the one who married her 5th cousin.
Are we right?
Yeah.
I have Mary Todd Lincoln.
Do you?
Okay. You
Yeah.
covered it. They
I
both
think Nancy
Tell me
Reagan. Yeah.
Tell me about Nancy Reagan.
Well, Nancy had her astrologer come in regularly.
games and things like that.
Yeah, she was very much into it. But I do think that Mary Todd Lincoln. But for the one who married her cousin, it was obviously Eleanor
Roosevelt.
Yes.
That's right. I think I actually learned that in elementary school.
Sexy.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Arkansas.
Yeah, we were all barefoot, too.
By the way, if you missed Michelle Obama's speech, you can hear it again next week when Melania Trump delivers it at the Republican National Convention.
I hear she's speaking on Tuesday night, so see you next Tuesday, Melania.
All right, let's carry on with our countdown. We've reached number 7. Tom.
Number 7.
I watched this a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to talk about it because I've been on and off the show because of other commitments. But have you guys seen the Go-Go's documentary that's currently running on Showtime?
I have seen parts of it, and I know that they came to us just because we had footage of them downstairs in the basement. I don't know if it ended up in the documentary or not, but we provided them some footage.
Well, yes, at the World of Wonder building, which Fenton is in, which we used to broadcast out of altogether. In the basement of it was a 70s and 80s punk club called The Mask, and it's a very safe place now, but it'd be a bit of a fire trap for a club, is the way I would look at it. But it was massive, because we use it for storage and studios and lots of things. But it was a massive space. There's all this graffiti on the walls. But the Go-Go's documentary, it's so worth seeing. I remember the Go-Go's. I think I was a sophomore in college when Beauty and the Beat became #1. And that, people had records and they played it. And I remember like girls and girls would play it a lot too. And it would be like girls in their window, those spring weird warm days of college where everybody's just like hanging out in the sun and that song is blaring.
We got the beat.
Everybody can get, and the whole album just like definitional of a time. And I do remember.
I think I've told you that everybody in my high school, the girls were either Belinda Carlisle's or Pat. What's her name?
Jane Whedon's.
No, Pat Benatar.
Benatar's, yes.
Yeah, you're either Pat Benatar. Right?
Yeah, that's true. So, and then there was the Behind the Music, VH1 Behind the Music a long time ago, which was always infamous because they lived like guy rock stars, right? They were just drugs and dudes, and theirs was one of the most candid Behind the Musics ever. So I thought I kind of knew the story, but here you have them now, all these years later. They are women of a certain age. They're about our age, and they interview them separately. So it's that Rashomon kind of thing. But like everyone's brutally honest because there was ups and downs. There, and I always say, damn you, female groups, because I love a girl group. I love the Go-Go's. I love the Destiny's Child. They always break up. You just fall in love. I can't fall in love again. Fifth Harmony, it happened all over again. But they went through so much stuff, and they talk about it so brilliantly. The big shock for me, and maybe people knew, is that Gina Shock, who was the player and one of the songwriters, she wrote "We Got the Beat," had a huge heroin problem during all of this, because you wonder, like, what tears them apart? What could possibly be wrong? They're on the top of the world, and it is just that it's the same old story, but it's told, and because it's women. But being on the road, you know, getting everything you want, all the drugs in the world, and then being sapped of every kind of creative thing that you've been building for years, and how they didn't really play their instruments that they learned, how they kind of sucked, and punk and new wave, which we talk a lot about.
I was just going to say, I remember seeing them before they broke. They were on a TV show called New Wave Theater that I've talked about before, and they were punk as punk can be. They were hardcore, and then the next time I heard them, it was "We Got the Beat," and the change in the sound, the way they made the leap from punk into pop is just absolutely spectacular.
And of course, with success, people criticize them for that, but they also say that they gave themselves permission to be bad, and that's how they existed. Like, there was something about that time where it's like, we sounded awful and people applauded and they let us come back. And so much of it happened in what is now the basement of World of Wonder at the Mask.
That's right, because the Mask was the West Coast version of CBGB's. The club in the basement was called the Mask, and that's where all the West Coast punks.
And that's where New Wave Theater was filmed every Saturday night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was the Butthole Surfers, and it was all the Misfits, and all the X, all those bands played, and it was an incredible time in Los Angeles. I remember seeing the Go-Go's in concert with Flock of Seagulls opening up for them in 1983 at an outdoor venue, and it was one of the best concerts of my life. I still look back on it.
And I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
They paint many vivid pictures of fame and money in the 80s, but one of them was their drug problem stuff, but also, like, Jane and Charlotte wrote the music. So when they started to get famous and sold millions of albums, two of them got really rich, and like Belinda didn't. And and so that became a big disparate thing. And by the time the third album came along, they got called into like the room, and they're like, "We're splitting." They got new management. They dumped the first manager, who like hawked her life to get them to Europe the first time, And they sat in some dick, manager, that name his name, and they sat there and they said, "Oh, we're splitting the stuff 5 ways." And Jane Wiedlin was like, "No, we're not," and she sort of left the group, and it just fell apart from there.
I have a question: is Ginger Canzoneri in the documentary? She was one of their managers.
She is highly featured. Yes, she is the manager. She's the heart and soul of it. And again, I love, and this is the magic of documentaries. But you don't know when the break happened, so you relive those glory years of how she's the one who sold everything to send them to Europe to open up for the Clash.
Little detail that won't be in the documentary is Ginger managed the Pop-Tarts for a while.
Really?
And the radio.
What do you remember about her?
She used to live on Avenue B between 9th and 8th Street. She was right opposite the Cristadora building in a gorgeous apartment. And Rennie and I had no money. And she invited us over for dinner one night and ordered takeout. And there were just so many cartons of food. We were like, this is amazing. And obviously she had made a coin or two from managing the Go-Go's, but she did talk about how she basically mortgaged everything she had to get them going. And she was very sort of mature about the fact that she'd been sort of passed over and, that they'd moved on.
But it is that typical thing where you make it and you can't, the people that got you there couldn't possibly take you any further. And in swoop the big guys who like tell you and seduce you, we'll take care of you and we'll make it all happen. It's a classic story, and I recommend it to everyone.
Well, we're way over right now, so I'll probably just use this on the YouTube version. But I have a special connection with Jane Wiedlin, too, because the only time I ever worked on set, I worked on RuPaul's Drag U Season 2, and she was one of the celebrity contestants at the very end. It was her, Downtown Julie Brown, and Stacey Q, all-star lineup, and they were all so sweet. Yes, and I was the talent coordinator, so I was the one that was closest to all of them, and it was so awesome.
I think that's a legendary group of women, and that's when Drag Race was on Logo, and they were game, and I just love that all three of those women are so willing to just like jump in and have fun and fuck it up and have, you know, it's that punk mentality of like, let's just do it.
It's before stars became just impossible.
Right. So many things.
I mean, you know, anyway, let's go on. We're way over. So number 6, James.
Number 6.
I see that Clueless is being rebooted for television as a mystery series, which is a little odd. And it will center on the character of Dion, played by Stacey Dash in the movie and in the series. So it's well, it's not Stacey Dash, but it's the character of Dion. It's described as a hell of a pitch. I want to read it to you. It's described as a baby pink and bisexual blue-tinted, tiny sunglass-wearing, oat milk latte and Adderall-fueled look at what happens when Queen Bee Cher disappears and her lifelong number 2 steps into her vacant Air Jordans. How does Dion deal with the pressures of being the new most popular girl in school while also unraveling the mystery of what happened to her best friend? So it sort of sounds like Veronica Mars, but with a black lead character, which is something that is wanted and needed right now. It's welcome. It comes on the heels of the news that The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is being rebooted as a TV show, but as a drama, not as a comedy, which is also strange. And I don't know if we need that. I see that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the movie, is being rebooted as a Will Smith and Kevin Hart vehicle instead of Steve Martin and John Candy.
I thought you said it's going to be redone, but this time it's a cooking show.
Right. It seems like it feels like we say it all the time. Hollywood is out of ideas. You wish that they would do these fabulous shows with these black actors and actresses, but we don't need to go back and do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as a drama and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Will Smith and Kevin Hart. I also see that Daria, the cartoon from the 90s, is being redone with the character of Jodie, who is the black character in that. It's her adventures post-college, and it will be voiced by Tracy Ellis Ross. And that's coming too. So there's a lot of interesting things happening, but I don't know that we need any of them.
You never know. It's the excuse to get something made, and then it just has to be good or not, I guess.
Exactly. So I do think that Clueless might be interesting as a mystery, but the other ones I'm not on board with.
All right. Well, the release dates for those are still to be determined. So number 5.
Number 5.
I can't wait to see this movie. It's a new book that's out. It's called A Star is Bored. Have you heard about it at all?
Yes.
Okay, stop me when you've heard this one before. But a guy is going for a job as an assistant. It's for a Hollywood star. Her name is Kathy Cannon, and she is in a movie in which she saves Earth, and she plays the part of Priestess Talaria. I wonder who that is. So, okay, Byron Lane is the author of the book, and it's really basically about his life he denies it. He says it's not at all, but his life as Carrie Fisher's assistant. And from the moment the novel, The Roman Aclaf, begins, the way he described the gate outside Carrie Fisher's old house, it's like, oh my God, I know exactly what he's talking about, because years ago we made a documentary, Wishful Drinking, about Carrie Fisher's amazing one-woman show, which was based on her, what book was it based on?
Wishful Drinking.
Wishful Drinking.
Yeah.
Why not? Yes. And but anyway, so I remember so clearly pulling up to the outside that gate, and then the way you had to punch in things on the walkie-talkie button, and the way she would bark at you, and the way the gate would open, and then you'd drive up and talk. It's like, it is a fascinating read. And what is so brilliant is that Byron Lane is obviously somehow Sputnik-like, Parasite-like, has inherited the humor of Carrie Fisher.
I was going to say,
two peas in a pod. It's such a gorgeous read and hilarious, and it's such a tribute to Carrie's, just her insane humor. She calls the character in the book is called Charlie Besson, and she immediately calls him Cockring. And it's just all of Carrie's lines, and the sort of, I can't recommend it enough, and I think it's going to make a great movie. I'm sure it's already been optioned.
It sounds like a movie is coming soon.
Yeah. And it reminded me, actually, Tom, of Buyer and Seller, the genre of the assistant writing the tell-all, or the, you know.
Or the wig, the bitch in the takedown.
Oh, right, the meltdown. Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's Byron Lane's A Star Is Born. Great title, by the way. And the book cover was fabulous. You know those balloons that you inflate in Mylar balloons, and they're in the shape of letters?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the cover is. It's just the cover itself is lovely. All right. Let's take a break. Blake, if you got a question.
I do. What pop star and Ellen are 11th cousins?
Oh.
Pop superstar.
All right. You're watching the Wow Report on Radio Andy. We'll have the answer after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James. And Blake, you asked us a very difficult question before the break.
Yes, what pop superstar is 11th cousins with Ellen DeGeneres?
I'm going to say it's either Helen Reddy or Demi Lovato.
Very good. Ellen's from Louisiana. I don't know, that's a lot of cousins away. I'm wondering, is it Big Frida, Queen of Bounce, who has, Frida's got a gun going Outfest? Or for some reason, I want to say Katy Perry. Katy Perry is my final answer.
All I can say is, are 11th cousins even related? I mean, hasn't the DNA been stretched so thin there is no actual relationship?
Yeah, I don't think that they really are, but they're in the same lineage. So the answer is Birthday Girl Madonna.
Oh, that's interesting.
Has Madonna ever been on Ellen's show?
I don't know.
Just goes to show you, be 11th cousins, it doesn't mean you're that close.
Yeah.
Can't get them on your show.
Probably just get socks at Christmas,
Or what did Ivanka give out? Gift baskets?
She gave out one lame shoe filled with candy and wrapped in cellophane.
Yes.
And that was to her niece, or step-niece. All right, we've reached number 4 in our countdown of things that made us go, wow, this week.
Number 4.
I'm going to tiptoe into this because it's an explosive issue, and I'm not taking either side. I think it's kind of a fascinating study. But Ellen Gate, I'm calling it. Ellen DeGeneres called out, sort of been shamed and canceled on the internet in sort of a unofficial campaign over the last few months that it's a toxic works environment that's actually been then sort of officially charged against Warner Brothers, the parent company of the Ellen DeGeneres show. Is Ellen a monster? She's so nice on TV. Do you have to be like what you are on TV? If you differ from if you're super nice, but your persona is different than your persona, is that a crime? This week, they fired 3 top executives. Ellen made a statement to her staff saying that, she was very disappointed. She thought they were carrying out her desire and her credo, but they weren't. And it's just an interesting time in history where millennials and everybody below them are so fragile. So workplaces have to be, for better or worse, I'm not putting judgment on it, but everyone's expecting to be treated with respect, because I don't know about you guys, but I came up in a business where we weren't respected, and I don't know, it was part of the ritual of getting into show business. And now I hear people say, well, just because you survived abuse doesn't mean that you should become an abuser. It's like, okay, that makes sense.
Well,
So,
and you talked about this before. Fenton and I sort of got into it a few weeks ago when you weren't here, where
Sorry.
the difference is that if you set yourself up as a steely, iron-fisted boss, and you are, you run a tight ship and everything, that's one thing. But Ellen has sold herself as the nice girl and is the softie, and therefore it's a bit more of a betrayal people feel when you learn that she's not the persona that she presents to be. Which
it's a betrayal. It's also good like gossip fodder. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the way.
And everyone right now, we've talked about this as well, where people are frustrated and they want scapegoats. They want to, they want to burn down the village because they're so frustrated with everything, and so they're lashing out at anyone and everyone that's in their path, and that's sort of what's happening to Ellen. But
you posted something about this sort of recently.
Oh my God! I knew the moment I hit send. It was reposting the Advocate piece where a writer just said, we're canceling Ellen because she's not as nice as she seems. WTF? And James and I, we did have a bit of a set too, but it is so interesting how well, didn't you say, James? The thing about cancel culture is it's going to come for you. You know?
And that is the thing, and it eventually everyone is going to be taken down a peg or two, and I don't know if it's a great cleansing that America needs right now, or the young people need, and that's we're going to get all the bad stuff out of all the vitriol out of the way for this great new utopian era that's coming up, or whether we're all going to descend into a morass of just hate and spewing of vitriol.
Paul Morrissey, who worked with Warhol for many, many years, and you'd think that someone who was in the Warhol circle would be, into the superstars and stuff. He hated them all, and he said the thing about utopias is the moment you decide the world you're in is the toilet, and you try to create a better world, all you do is create a worse toilet. Just the shit show just gets worse.
Listening to you guys, and I'm sorry for repeating, but hubris is strong, right? That's been around for a long time.
And hubris leads to nemesis, as we know from our Greek tragedies.
Yes, exactly. And the idea that you can't really keep the facade up because everybody has a little bit of a voice. But the other thing I'll say in defense of Ellen, who I have a soft spot for because just of what she represents to our community and how her coming out. And I remember sitting with my lesbian friends the night of that show. And, that woman's been kicked down a lot and she's come back up. And I just wonder if this is a great opportunity for her. Listen, we can all, part of this growing and being more like socially aware and accepting, and letting go of prejudices and shedding skins is saying, I need to do better. I need to learn and know better.
Well, but hold on.
Be a role model in that. That's all I'm saying.
But the fact is you can say, I'm going to do better. And then if you don't do better, you need to be called out for it. And just because you did something great in the 90s and you changed society and culture, does that mean that we have to give you a free pass for everything for the rest of your life?
None of that, but I have sentimental feelings about her. And again, you can't just say I'm going to do better. You have to do better. But I think it's true for all of us. There's uncomfortableness. No one wants to admit that what they were saying or doing, and it doesn't have to be an extreme Ellen kind of situation. But I think if we're all going to shed skins and live and grow, that we have to be given that chance. So again, Ellen has risen from the ashes before. It's going to be interesting when she gets back on the air and how she deals with it. And that's I'm not sitting here judging her, but it is a bunches of things all swirling together. So that's where I am.
It's definitely a lot. And in fact, number 3, James.
Number 3.
Isn't that, are we continuing the same?
Yeah, we have something happened this week that was really upsetting, and this leads perfectly from what we were just talking about into this. Randy Rainbow is somebody who has gotten us through the last 4 years, and he is a genius, and his song parodies are, from Broadway musicals and from Katy Perry and everybody, Madonna and Ariana Grande. It's encapsulated all of our frustration and all of our feelings that we've had. Unfortunately, this week, I don't know if you've been paying attention to Twitter. No. Cancel culture has come for Randy Rainbow, and a bunch of tweets that he had from 10 years ago have surfaced, and people are saying that they're very racist. And if you read them, it's not up to me just to decide if something is racist. And if people of color, if black people or brown people are offended by it, then it's not up for me to say that it's not what they say it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad because, like I said, Randy is somebody who is so important to the times right now. And every time he comes out with a new song, I say, you know, he needs a bigger platform. Why aren't we giving him the Nobel Peace Prize? Why doesn't he have a Broadway show? Why isn't he on Saturday Night Live? You know, I want him so much to succeed. And we were just saying that cancel culture eventually comes for everybody. And right now he seems to be in the hot seat. And it's sad. And you wonder, you know, at what point do we forgive people for their stupidity from 10 years ago? And can you say that somebody was just because they were young that we can excuse it? Or, you know, can people really change? If you were racist 10 years ago, are you just hiding it better now? Or, you know, what do we do with these people who bring us joy and then we discover this bad part about them? Go, Tom.
Two things. One is, I didn't know anything about this, so I'm hearing this fresh, and I'm shocked because I love Randy Rainbow and we've worked with him, and he and I love what he does, and I think it's really powerful, and he's incredibly talented. I'm upset to hear this. I think again we will all be canceled at this rate. I'm not trying to be we'll be canceled, but I do think, you know, people are, you know, given a chance. I think cancel culture the cancel culture itself may eat itself out. Just because it's the shock of being canceled feels with each one a little, I don't know, less wow, or go, you know, it's almost like you can look at Twitter at night to see who's getting canceled. You know, you almost want to see who's trending. But I will just say this, Randy, I'm suspicious, and this is what it is. I'm not saying that things weren't racist. It's not me to judge. I haven't even seen them. But Randy Rainbow is such an effective voice against right-wing America. I'm wondering who unearthed those tweets, who is, you know, it's like that Russian bot thing. I sometimes feel like the right is very good at throwing red meat at the liberals, so we will tear each other apart. And
well, I do know that Randy has yet to address this, but he has been deleting all of those tweets from 2010, or his people are, and that is in itself an acknowledgement that he realizes that this is something that is you know, harmful or upsetting to people. And I just think that at some point we all have to go over, you have to lie in the dark of the night when you're alone, you have to go over every inch of your life and say, what have I done and what is out there, you know, and you have to be at peace with what you've done, and you know.
And you only have so much control over what other people say, other people think. And I lie in bed and think, not to be but I try to say, what can I do today? And how can I be better today? That's all I got.
By the same token, how much does cancel culture really, how many people are really truly canceled when you start to see people like Louis C.K. going back out there and Kevin Hart back out there, and, you know, all the people who were supposedly canceled, their careers, they take 6 months off, they lie low, and then they come back and it's as if nothing happened. So, you know,
I'll be curious to see how Randy handles this moving forward.
And all I'll say is that I just think it's telling to me that we often attack lesser offenses while ignoring the enormous problem right in front of our faces, which is, you know, a supremely evil, extremely racist, vile.
And why are we coming after our own? Why are we eating our own as opposed to going after, you know,
where those seeds are planted of the
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Okay. Let's move on. Number two. I bet this would be better if it was a Soviet version. This is a movie streaming on Netflix called Power Project, and it's by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, who they made the documentary Catfish. And they've done a couple of the paranormal activities. And basically, it's a sort of drug heist movie. And the drug is power. So you take a pill, and for 5 minutes, you have a superpower. Now, if you're an evil person, the drug makes you very evil. And so you never quite know what you're going to get. But you take the drug, and, you know, like, so one person, like, springs metal blades from all over his body. Or another person, she becomes super cold and freezes everything she touches. And another person bursts into flames and burns everything. And another person can camouflage completely can go rob a bank because they can camouflage with the surroundings.
It sounds like the Fantastic Four or X-Men or something.
Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, except the twist is you take the drug and it only lasts for 5 minutes.
Well, how much can you accomplish in 5 minutes?
Rob a bank in 5 minutes, James. I mean,
Okay.
haven't you? And of course, then it's the usual sort of evil person caper that they're basically test marketing this drug in New Orleans. And Jamie Foxx is a good guy who's come to try and figure out where it's coming from and to stop it. And he runs into Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's a kind of...
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Oh, my God, my favorite actor on the planet.
I know, hot man. So there you go. And that's streaming on Netflix. But I had a sort of creepy takeaway. I felt that I'm also watching at the same time it's old Frontline, I think, PBS documentary about Amazon. And I was sort of having watched this thing about power and taking pills and Amazon and their whole desire to crush the competition, and they started out selling books, and then they shafted the booksellers, and then they're selling everything, and people are working in inhumane warehouse. You know the whole Amazon story. It made me realize that, in a way, this idea of power, this pill that you take, that is the wish fantasy of what Netflix or Amazon or Google want to be. You know, that they want us all to be. That they don't want to be that. They want us all to be addicted to the drug that they provide, and I guess we are. You know. So it's like a sort of slightly depressing film to watch. It's called The Power Project on Netflix. Okay.
I will definitely check it out. Anything with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I'm there.
I know. Well, that's what I do here. I bring you hot men's every week. I bring you the latest Soviet cosmonaut and the latest Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie. He's doing a lot lately. So
now, if we could just get Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Kennedy Schlossberg in a movie together, then that would be a James St. James fantasy come true.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll reveal the #1 thing that made us go wow this week.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James and Tom. I just want to tell you, you must get your Person, Man, Woman November Vote t-shirt, because I think there's only 74, 73 days to the election, and 100% of the proceeds from this t-shirt go to the National Coalition on Black Civil Participation. So shop now at store.worldofwonder.net. All right, we've reached #1. What is #1?
#1.
I once had a dream that after RuPaul's Drag Race contestants competed and left the show, that we'd be able to follow them and see what it's like in more of a docu-series format, to see what it's like to perform and to live together and to fall in love, a whole different dimension. And tonight, that dream is coming true on VH1. It's RuPaul's Drag Race Vegas Review. Not the sexiest title, but it gets it across. 5 of our queens have got together for a show called RuPaul's Drag Race Live, the first ever sort of like drag, what do they call them? What does Britney Spears have? They have those...
Residency.
Residency, thank you. There's lots of drag in Vegas. This was a residency at the Flamingo, a big deal. And Asia O'Hara, Ms. Vanjie, Evie Oddly, Naomi Smalls, Cameron Michaels, and Derek Barry were part of the cast of the actual show. And this is the behind the scenes of the show. They lived and worked together. The show opened, we've talked about it here, it opened, the Vegas show opened in January, 2 rave reviews, 2 sold out crowds. And then, you know, we were shooting this thing. Danielle King, who's an amazing executive producer, who's worked on our $1 Million Listing, is producing this. And in the middle of this, obviously, what we're dealing with happened, COVID, Vegas. And so the show takes incredible leaps and turns, but it's really intimate. Ru is on camera in it. He's, you know, he produced and directed the show along with Jamal Sims. So it's all there. Leland, Brett McLaughlin wrote the music. It's just fun.
Tom, you're far too modest. You wrote some of the music too. You added lyrics and things. I mean, and I have to say, I've been watching some of the trailers for it and I'm thinking, God, I'd watch that show. That looks really good, which is not a feeling I normally have with things, because you've normally worked on them so much, you're like sick of the sight of it or just filled with anxiety. But I'm thinking, oh my God, that looks so good.
It will be interesting. You know, it's Fridays at 8 o'clock. That's the Drag Race time. You know, it's not a competition elimination, so you don't have to watch. But I'm hoping enough people do because it's really entertaining. It's the drag queens you love in a whole different light. And wouldn't it be great if we could be doing one of these, you know, a different one every year where we follow the queens in Vegas or New York or Europe or all kinds of things. So RuPaul's Drag Race Vegas Review, Fridays, VH1, 8 p.m.
What were some of the other titles we had? Remind me, because
Queens of Vegas, but I think somebody already had that title. And then it was them. Brainstorms of titles in the Drag Race world get very silly very quickly. Extravaganza, elegance, you know, everything sort of Queens Gone Wild, things like that.
Queens are Wild. That's right. Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning into the WOW Report this week. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, James. Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake.
We'll be here same time, same place next week. Until then, go out, wear a mask, and do something that makes the world go
Wow.